Welcome back, my crazy people. Today, we are looking at a Jon Bellion album. Before I do, just want to say there's going to be some stuff down in the description. If you want to know how the channel works, all that good information will be down in the description for this video. Today, we are looking at the album The Seperation by Jon Bellion. The Seperation technically is Jon Bellion's second full-length album. His first one was Translations Through Speakers, and this was actually released the same year as Translations Through Speakers. And this album wasn't released on iTunes or Apple Music or Amazon. It was only on SoundCloud. And then they put this album, a while ago, Jon Bellion made this compilation called Growth. And with the compilation of Growth, it had all the songs from all the albums. And he put all the songs, and put all of his albums on Apple Music, on iTunes, on all the major streaming services. So now you can listen to all the Jon Bellion albums, easily without SoundCloud. I don't have SoundCloud. I don't listen to SoundCloud. So if you're a non-SoundCloud user, you can listen to Jon Bellion. And yeah, this is his second full-length album. This album has 12 songs technically, but a bunch of these songs are kind of short, and the album really is pretty short. It doesn't take long to listen to it. I think it's only like a little bit over 30 minutes or just around 30 minutes. A whole bunch of these songs don't get past 3 minutes. I think the longest song on this album is When the Lions Come, and that one's just a little bit over 4 minutes long. And then the song A Dedicated Instrumental is under 2 minutes. I mean, this is mostly a bunch of really short, brief songs on this album. The Seperation kind of stands out in Jon Bellion's discography, mostly for all the rapping, because Jon Bellion does rap on his two most recent albums, which are miles more well-known and popular and successful than his SoundCloud albums. Translations Through Speakers, The Seperation, and The Definition. Those are SoundCloud albums, that you can listen to now. But there's a whole lot of rapping on this album. Eyes to the Sky, Jim Morrison, Halloween, When the Lions Come, except that one is actually one of those songs where, you have a singer singing the chorus, and then you have a different rapper on each verse. So there's like 3 verses. One of the rappers on that song is Logic, interestingly, back in Logic's SoundCloud days. That's a collab you probably wouldn't see again from these guys, but yeah, Logic and Jon Bellion, that's kind of cool. You have 2 of these kind of legendary artists now. I mean, Jon Bellion isn't actually like legendary, but he is to me. But I mean, whatever. Superman, The Gift and the Curse, and Kingdom Come. All these songs have rapping. Most of these are not, rap exclusive. They're singing and rapping, so it's not just full-on rap song. And Jon Bellion really excels at singing. So, but you could tell he enjoys rapping, and you could tell he thinks he's really cool, so he raps on this album a good bit. The music on this album is most significantly electronic. And then, you have some strings here and there, and a lot of times it's really big and climactic sounding, like on the song Eyes to the Sky, Ungrateful Eyes. These kind of have this, like, heavenly, kind of huge, larger-than-life kind of sound to them. New York Soul is like a piano ballad. It's, like, really stripped back for the most part, and the vocals are kind of different. The lyrics are super heartfelt, and all that kind of stuff. So that song kind of stands out. Yeah. I'm going to go over some pros and cons with this album. Pros, the production on this thing is fantastic. It's not fantastic. It's not as good as the highs on this don't really reach the highs that every album after this eventually reaches. But the music on this thing is actually pretty good for the most part. Eyes to the Sky has really fantastic music that just works extremely well and just feels really big and kind of profound, and it works very well. Jim Morrison has a really cool beat and a extremely convincing pre-chorus leading up to the chorus, even though there's a line right before the chorus that's downright cringy, where he does a Will Smith pun that's bad. That's really, really dumb. But besides that, the build-up is really good. Halloween, a song which was probably the worst on the album, and it is the worst on the album. Musically, it's still not bad. It gets better in the second half of the song. That throws some strings in there. They do some other cool instrumentation, and the song actually ends up sounding pretty good. Two Rocking Chairs is just a really nice song. It just sounds really good. The lyrics are kind of sweet. They're kind of good and heartfelt. Ungrateful Eyes is another one with pretty standout lyrics. The lyrics are inspired by his Christian faith. He talks about the skies, where did the stars come from? He talks about making money, but it doesn't really matter because there are things in life that are more important than making money. And I always like hearing that. That's just a good message. That is good. And he talks about, you know, the beauty of creation and the stars. And are we staring with ungrateful eyes? It's a really memorable, really, really great line in the chorus. One More Time sounds like it has music from the video game Sonic Colors, and that's definitely not a bad thing. It's extremely electronic, it's very sparkly, it gets really big and energetic, and it just feels so 80s and so sparkly and electronic and kind of throwback, and it works extremely well. The music on that track works extremely well. To My Future Wife, just heavenly music on this thing, where he talks about, where he says, walk towards love. He says, walk towards love. Okay, I can't sing it. I can't sing. But he says this line, and the music just gets amazing. It just sounds so good, and you're just like, it's so good. A Dedicated Instrumental is kind of short. It's short and sweet song. It's very short, but sounds good. It sounds good. It's just kind of short. When the Lions Come, once again, the music on this thing during the verses doesn't sound that great, but it gets better. Like on Halloween, the music on this one does get better. New York Soul, very stripped back, very heartfelt, very good. Superman, The Gift and the Curse, absolutely killer chorus. Everything else, a killer chorus. Kingdom Come is a lot like Eyes to the Sky, and that tries to be really big and profound and climactic with the music. And it's not as good as Eyes to the Sky, but it still works and it still sounds pretty good. In parts. The numero uno problem with this album is the rapping. Jon Bellion, not only is he not very good at rapping on this album, he's better on The Human Condition, where he barely ever raps. Good decision, Jon Bellion. But on this album, the rapping is downright cringe. And the actual lines he's rapping, he thinks he's like really clever and like sort of kind of funny, because there are times in the album where he'll laugh, but he makes these horrible, super cringy analogies and similes and like metaphors and stuff that just sound really amateur, and they just kind of just sound bad. They don't ruin the songs necessarily, but when he's rapping, normally the lyrics he's rapping are kind of terrible, and he's not very good at rapping on this album. Songs like Halloween, one of the lyrics on that is, he says all these things, all these metaphors and similes with him and his girlfriend or whatever, or this person he likes, and he says, "You'll be the pit bull, I can be your chew toy." Oh, it hurts so much to say that. What makes the rapping on this album even worse is that his singing voice is fantastic. His singing voice is so good. And so it's like, especially on songs like Eyes to the Sky or Ungrateful Eyes or a bunch of these songs, you hear him singing like these, just sounds amazing, and then he'll start rapping. And you're like, why are you rapping? It sounded so good before you were rapping. Why do you have to come in and mess up your own song? Why are you hijacking your own song? Another problem with this album, I think, is the lyrical content of some of these songs is really not great. Like I said, whenever he's rapping, the lyrical content is bad. Like the lyrics are pointless. They're dumb. They just don't sound good. I mean, like, lyrically, this thing is just a mess whenever he's, rapping. One of the songs I really have a problem with is One More Time. One More Time is an extremely sexual pop song that is literally just about that, about sex, and it's kind of terrible. I don't want to go into detail, but it's kind of cringeworthy, the lyrical content on that one. Kind of not good. I don't really I don't really care for that one. But other songs on this album have heart and are good, like To My Future Wife, Two Rocking Chairs, New York Soul. But then again, a lot of the lyrical content on this album is either okay, it's meh, some of it's pretty good. There's some highlights, like, Ungrateful Eyes, that's another one with really good lyrics. But a lot of the lyrical content on this album really isn't that good. Besides all the cringeworthy rapping and the not so great lyrical content, the production and the singing on this album is just really good, and lyrically there are some very strong highlights, some really, really good highlights. Vocally and in terms of singing, there's some really, really great highlights. This album really does have heart, it has personality, and it's honestly a good album. It's definitely not a great album, but this is a good album that I would recommend. I'm going to give it a 3.5 star rating out of 5. Thank you for watching the video. Yeah, that's the other thing I didn't mention earlier until just now. This album has a lot of personality. It's very original. The music on this thing, even the lyrics and the vocals, even the lyrics and the rapping and all the cringy rapping and stuff, it all has personality. It all has, and that's a huge part of Translations Through Speakers. Jon Bellion's first album, it like 100% gets by based on Jon Bellion's personality and charm and all that kind of stuff. That's literally like its number one thing it tries to do. The number one thing it tries to have going for it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Thank you for watching the video. I appreciate it.